Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be modifying the tongue of this trailer, and I'm also going to be sharing with you a couple of things I've learned about mounting a fender to a trailer. Here it is. Here's the project. This tongue of this trailer has got a little bend in it. This is only 2x3 14 gauge rec tubing, and it's got a little bow in it. We'll get a closer look at that here in a minute. So we're gonna go back with 2x3 3/16, so that's 2 steps up from 14 gauge. So hopefully it'll last him quite a bit longer. He said he's had this thing for, I thought he said 20 years, but a long time anyway. So even though it's only 14 gauge, it's lasted him this long, so. The pipe fence course is all online. You do not have to come to a physical location. You don't have to come to Oklahoma, and you can take all the time that you need to get through the course. That's the beauty of the online world that we live in today. Digital products are flexible and affordable. So if you've got a full-time job and thought you wouldn't have time for the course, luckily for you, that's not the case. Once you purchase the course, you will have access to all the information for as long as the course exists. And I don't know about you, but Kayla, my wife, and I don't plan on going anywhere. We love what we do here. We love sharing, we love educating. We love taking what we've learned in 10 years and packaging it up all nice and neat and organized for you, so you can learn 10 years worth of experience in just a month or less. That's exciting, right? I know. Kayla is a genius. She's the reason this pipe fence course exists. So if you've taken the course and you found a lot of value in it, go down in the comments of this video and punch in real big capital letters, "Thank you, Kayla. You are awesome." If you're watching this video before March 29th, 2022, the course is still open for enrollment. There's a link in the description so you can go check it out. I almost went with a 4 high rec tubing by 3/16, but I got to thinking that might be a little bit overkill, but I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments below. What would you have went back with? Oh, and I'm also going to be extending the tongue 8 or 10 inches, so keep that in mind. Look who it is. Oh, Karen. Still loafing, ain't you? I think she did finally get a bird the other day, so that's good. But anyway, before I start on that project, I'm gonna go in here and package some orders. If you're interested in building one of these A-frames, you can find digital prints on my website, arosswelding.com/shop under digital prints. Here it is, flipped over. Let's get down here and look at this bow in it. See the bow action going on. This is only 14 gauge rec tubing. We're going back with 3/16, same size, 2x3. What you say, Kev? Ready to do some work? Huh? Wow. First thing I gotta do is pull these wires out from this other side. You can see, but I want to pull the wires out that way whenever I go to cut these welds and stuff, because I'm going to take this tubing off. I'm essentially going to build the same thing, but I'm going to make this piece longer. I'm going to add 10 inches to this piece, so instead of this joint being right here, it'll be 10 inches forward. That way the angle and everything stays the same on the front there. I do plan on reusing the jack and the hitch. All right, so all I'm gonna do is disconnect them right here where they're connected. But before I disconnected them, I made sure that all I was gonna have to do was match colors whenever I go to put my end back on right here. So I can go ahead and clip it, and just plan on putting it right back, and Kevin will put that piece back over this whenever this new tongue is on. All right, now that I've got my wires pulled back, I'm gonna go ahead and do what I can with the zip disc. Cut off this hitch and cut off this jack. I'm gonna leave the jack in the piece of angle, but I'm gonna cut the angle off the square tubing that we're replacing. That way I can potentially put this piece of angle right back in the new tongue, and then I'll actually, because it's actually bent a little bit, but I'll straighten it out and probably put another piece of plate right here. But I'm gonna do what I can with the zip disc, and what I can't get with the zip disc, I'll use a torch. Same with taking the tongue off. I'll go ahead and use the zip disc. Just because it's a little bit cleaner with this lighter material, it's just not worth using a torch. So yeah, let's go ahead and get to cutting. Alright, so I've done what I could with a grinder here. I still have one more weld under here that I can do with a grinder, but there's these welds in here that I can't get a grinder to. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to go ahead and cut this tongue off. I cut this jack out and I cut into this knowing that I wasn't going to be reusing this. So I think I'm going to go ahead and just cut it off here and cut it off here. That way I can mess with this hitch and use a torch to get all this square tubing scarfed off here without affecting this. And then I'll finish using a grinder where I can, you know, on these welds like I have right here. And I still got to get that one and on the inside and on the other side and whatnot. Do what I can with the grinder, same deal on these pieces, and then use a torch on those, carefully not burning up the wires, and then get the hitch off, and then I can start building the new tongue out of the piece of new rec tubing that we have right over here. Same thing, just a little bit thicker, 3/16 instead of 14 gauge. But before I cut this all the way off, I wanted to check my angle, so I got this angle finder. I put it up in here and it looks like it's roughly a 50-degree angle. So obviously to get that angle I'll have to make these miters here. Yeah, that's great to know that that's a 50 up there, but to get that 50 you have to have the right miter on this piece and the right miter on this piece. So we'll just go with what they had. It's a neat thing about doing these projects is you can learn a lot from them, which I'm a huge advocate for. Come on. So it looks like they cut a 30-degree on this one and left this one straight. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm also going to leave the bottoms unwelded like they did. That allows for water to come out. And for as long as this trailer's been around, I'd say it's served a good purpose, because yeah, it's got some rust, but for how thin this stuff is and for how old this trailer is, it's actually amazing that it doesn't have more actual holes in it. I've seen some back there, but it was actually in this other tubing. It wasn't in this. I haven't inspected the whole thing thoroughly, but my whole point is it was very intelligent for them to not weld these bottoms to let water out, because it really saves the life of the square tubing. So I'm going to do the same thing with the new tongue. Now all I gotta do is scarf this weld and scarf that weld, maybe using a wedge here and there, peel those pieces off and clean it up with a grinder and be ready to put back on the new tongue. But before I finish cleaning that up, I come back here and do my torching that I need to do in these two corners, because I want these to be cooling off, because I gotta do the same thing here that I did right there. I gotta cut the square tubing away and leave a piece. I want it to be cooling off, and the rest of it I think I should be able to get with the grinder, except for there's one weld down here that I won't be able to get with the grinder, so maybe I'll do that next. Yeah, torch here, there, here and there, and then while those are cooling off I can be grinding these other welds off, and then I should be able to start prying this old tongue off here with a wedge. Well, there it is. There's the tongue all chopped up, the old tongue. I had to do a lot more torching than what I was anticipating because of these welds that were over under here where I couldn't get because the tongue was here, I couldn't get a grinder underneath there. So same with all these in this corner, I couldn't get a grinder there. So I had to do more torching and hacking apart than what I was anticipating, but I mean, it is what it is. It's what had to be done. So anyway, now I just got to do some grinding, clean all this mess up, plug up my little holes. Maybe I may not worry about it since I didn't weld these. I might not take the time to plug up any holes like this, you know. I'm just gonna let water out, so probably be like a blessing in disguise by leaving them type thing, you know. So anyway, clean it all up and then start cutting the 4 pieces out of my new tubing. And oh, about forgot about this guy. Gotta clean this up. I'll probably do that first. Clean this up, cut 4 pieces, 2 straight pieces with the 30-degree angle on them, and then 2 straight pieces the right length for over yonder. So alright, now I'm going to cut my 2 pieces to run along the frame and put my 30-degree miter on, but I'm going to try to use the same miter for each piece. So I've got a square cut on our stock end here, or our factory end, however you want to say it. I'm going to pull my measurement, which is 54 inches. Slide this all the way in here, get my mess cleaned off. Okay, I got her lined up, sucked my clamp down. I'm going to make my cut and then turn my saw back to straight, back to 90, and then pull from my long side of my miter here on this next piece to the same measurement, which is 54, and I should have 2 54-foot pieces with the miter on one end and a straight cut on the other. Hi now. That's pretty hootin' tootin' close, sir. That is pretty hootin' tootin' close. Let's see how this fits. Hello. Daggum. Alright, I'm fixing to put some tacks on this thing. Since my shop's packed full of stuff, I'm not going to be able to use my MIG, or it's not going to be worth it. If the wind wasn't blowing too bad, like right now, the wind's not blowing terrible, so I could probably get away with MIG, but it's just not worth it to me to take the chance. So I'm going to be using my TIG 200, which is also a stick welder. That way I ain't got to burn this high dollar fuel. And I'm going to be using 6011, 1/8 6011, and 332 7018. I'm gonna stitch weld the tongue just like it was before. You can see where the welds were before, where I've cleaned them up. But I'm gonna go in first with a 1/8 6011 and put some tacks on here. Probably put 4 tacks on those 2 pieces. Then I'm gonna square these 2 pieces with my axle by pulling a measurement from the axle to here and from the axle to here, and make sure these are square. And then I'll tack these off, and then once I've got everything tacked in place, I will then start to weld on it. I might even tack my yeah, I probably will go ahead and tack my hitch on, because I want to make sure it's square also. More importantly, I want this where the ball is going to be on my hitch to be square with my axles. But in theory, if these pieces are the same length and they're square with the axle, if I put that on and the angle's proper, in theory it should be square. But I'm gonna check it obviously to make sure ultimately that ball is square with the axle. So once I've got the hitch tacked on and everything tacked off, I will go through with my 6011 and put more or less like a bead, or just like a, I'll probably just drag a pass like right here. Let me just get a little closer view. I'll probably just drag a pass in here, and then I'll come back with that other rod, 332 7018, and put me a little pass over it. I'll do that welding procedure on all the tongue, and then I will be ready to flip this thing over, put my jack on, clean my angle up, put it back on, and then replace the fender, and this bad boy will be ready to go down the road. $139. $139 and a 16th, boys. Woo! Oh, that is pretty hootin' tootin' close now. Hootin' tootin' fork. main thing that I've learned to focus on when it comes to squaring stuff up is pulling from the same thing on both sides. So on that other side I pulled from right here, so I'm going to do the same over here, and I'm going to measure to the same on the tongue. What could we do here? Maybe go to like maybe like right here, 144 and 9/16. 144 and 9/16. Oh yeah, I like it. We are in good shape. So what I did was measure to, let me get my old soapstone out and point here. What I did was measure to right here and to right here. To right here on this axle and to right here on this axle, but I just now realized I could have went to the center of this hole, or you could have eyeballed literally the center of the ball, but I'm trying to remember how I've done them. Oh, you know what? The hitches that I've put on in the past have that. They're like their heavier duty ones where it like kind of like an octagon and they come to a point right here. So I've always had more of a direct center to go to. I'll probably go ahead and put another clamp on right here. That way it sucks everything up nice and tight. Then I'll put a few tacks on this hitch, and then I'll be ready to do some welding. I mostly used the 1/8 6011 to weld on this hitch. Besides the two top welds, I used 7018, and then around the safety chains, I used 7018. All right, I think that'll work for the tongue. Now I'm back here whittling on this fender. Got her jacked up so I can take the wheel off and cut these tacks. You can see I've zipped some of them already. But I can't get a grinder in these corners, so I'm fixing to use a torch and get her off there. Looks like there's a weld there too. And then once I get that thing off there, I'll clean up them welds and put our new one on. He's back here waiting on us. Ooh, no! Oh, and the reason being that we're replacing it is this big old dent. Big old dent in the fender. Oh my God. Alright, so if I was building a trailer like brand new, and whenever I got to the point of hanging my fender like we're fixing to do here, I would find the width here and be on something that's particularly level so you can use the square. But anyway, get the outside dimension, which we got 32 and a little over a quarter. So find half of that. Be 16 and an eighth. Mark half of it, and put your square here, and go ahead and mark it up here. So in theory that ought to be your center. You can go ahead and actually make a line all the way down, potentially depending on your trailer and where it's going and whatnot. But on this particular situation, I'm not really going to worry so much about that, because I'm just going to put it where they had it, because they've got these square tubing in here. I can't go wrong because of what they've already done here. But anyway, and then also make sure whenever I do go to hang it, make sure that it's level this way. Alright, so I put it in there once already, and this fender's a little bit different than the one that they got. This lip back here is a little bit thicker, and so it's real close to this nut. So I'm going to go ahead and sand this lip down a little bit, that way it's away from that nut, so they can get a socket or something on there if they ever need to. rolling like a big shot. Chevy tuned up like a NASCAR pit stop. This is one of my favorite times in a project, is when it's all finished up. It's a very satisfying feeling, if you will. That's why I love it. And that's why my advice this week is to make sure that you succeed at something. Check with yourself and make sure you are absolutely enjoying what you're doing. If you are enjoying what you're doing, if you are in love and passionate about what you're doing, you will not fail. However, I am not saying that it will be easy, but if you enjoy what you're doing, that will give you the fire to figure it out. So, find what you enjoy, even if it's not welding. Find what you enjoy and do it. Don't forget to head on over to arosswelding.school to check out the pipe fence course. You've got until March 29th. If you have any questions about the course, you can text them to 405-643-7176. Have an awesome weekend, and remember, learn something every day.